So, have you seen these shells behind me right here, piercing through my head, and they don't really seem to be leveled, and it's been annoying. I'm just watching myself, right, and it's a bit annoying, and but they are perfectly straight, but this little room that I'm in isn't. So it's slightly annoying, and if you never noticed it before, well, now you can't ignore it anymore, because you know, and now you'll see these things piercing, and so I just wanted to share that with you. Ignore it. Ignore the shelves. Alright, so ignore the shelves. I'm Pascal from Orange Pixel, and in this week's video I want to talk about Gunslugs Rogue Tactics, the game I'm working on. And I wanted specifically to mention why this game has been in development for 8 years, or why I couldn't make it back in 2011-12 when I made the original Gunslugs game. Because to create the game as it is right now, I had to learn a lot of stuff, a lot of technology, a lot of game design knowledge, I guess, and just a bunch of things that I have now implemented in this game, but really I stole them from my own previous games. And with every game I try new things, and with every game I learn new things and I improve on things. So this game has so much elements and stuff that I originally planned for the original Gunslugs, but I just didn't have the capabilities to create it. I didn't have the vision or the ideas for it, and Gunslugs 1 is still a great fun game, but Gunslugs Rogue Tactics, the new one, has so much more content and so much more variations in the gameplay that this is really the type of game I wanted to create back then, but simply couldn't. So let's just take a few examples of what's in this game that I basically stole from my own games in the recent years. Starting with Meganoid 2017. So most of my work on Meganoid was really just building templates and then having the computer figure out how to mix and match them so that there was a level that was fun and interesting to play. And that's really the core of Meganoid. And that same core is also powering the levels of Gunslugs. Of course, in those years I have improved on it, and for this game I added a bunch of new things and improvements. So really, if I never figured it out in Meganoid, I wouldn't have been able to use it in Gunslugs Rogue Tactics, and the levels wouldn't be as interesting as they are now. So that's one of the first examples. Really, the core of the game is built on top of everything I figured out from Meganoid. Okay, so having levels is great, but they also need to look pretty. So I added a light system, and again, this light system is something I developed back with Space Grunts, which was the first game that I added it to. Really, it took me a few weeks to have it up and running and working and looking good, and then it took me even more weeks and a couple of games to perfect it and improve on it. And with Gunslugs, I again improved on it, adding lens flares and things like that. But I could not add these lights if I had not put in the time back when I was creating Space Grunts. So again, at least a month work of just creating these light effects. But wait, there is more. The aiming system in Gunslugs Rogue Tactics is another example of something I stole from previous games. So what it does is target the nearest enemy that has the most danger for you. So there's a whole system behind that, and some math that I don't even... It took me a while to figure it all out, because it has to target everything around you and still run pretty fast. So I figured all those things out back in the day of Heroes of Loot 2, which was really the top-down twin-stick shooter. And if you're playing on mobile, you just don't have the screen space to have all these buttons and options and whatever. So I needed a way to make it fun and entertaining, even for people that played on a mobile screen. So I came up with this auto-targeting system and everything around it, and that's really what I copied into Gunslugs Rogue Tactics. I have improved on it because I also used it in Ash World, which was really the same system. Also, again, from top-down view, it had some improvements with targeting the right enemies. So those that are more dangerous to you will be targeted first, and there's a bunch of stuff going on again. But I copied all that, pasted it in Gunslugs Rogue Tactics, and that's really what powering the whole targeting system right now, even though I also added manual targeting. But still, for those people playing on mobile phones or just don't want to target enemies themselves, you can just play with the automatic targeting system, and it should still be fine, and it's not perfect, but I'm sure with the next 2 or 3 games it will be fixed and it will be resolved, and I can then also do these changes again in the Gunslugs game and in the Heroes of Loot and Ashworld, and so all these games are somewhat connected technology wise. Which brings us to the last technology type stuff. The interface, everything that I built for interface has been built over the last games, and there is, you don't really see it, but all the menus, all the buttons and all those type of things are all built into one single thing that I can share amongst all these games, and it really allows me to quickly add interfaces to the game. And of course this game I improved on it yet again, added new stuff and just minor things and tweaks, and for the next game it will be better and better and better. And that's really how I've been building my games over the years, because I sometimes see game developers say they want to create this huge game with all these features, and I'm like, no, you should create one small game that has one of those features, and then the next and the next and the next until you're ready to create such a game. I've never been ready to create bigger games. In the recent years I have had the confidence, and it's also a lot easier to create these big games if you actually have a lot of stuff that you can build on top of, or copy and paste and modify and tweak, because you don't have to create everything from scratch again, and that makes it a lot easier to create huge games, because there's a lot of code going on in a game like this, and it's just sometimes hard to track and follow everything, but somehow we all manage. But you now might wonder, is there anything new in this game? Did you create anything from scratch, or is everything copy and pasted from previous games? And no, there's new stuff in this game. There is the biggest thing in this game, I guess, is figuring out how to do all this stealth and tactical stuff in a action game. Knowing how to sneak around and having cameras that can follow you and can track you and can notice you. There are some very simple systems going on, but I had to figure it out. It's the first time I did something like this, so there's a bunch of stuff that, again, it took me a few weeks, up to a month or even more, to get it all right. And I only recently added crouching to the mix, which then again has to make sure that enemies don't see you or can't spot you or have a harder time finding you if you're crouching or hiding and things like that. So I figured out a bunch of stuff, and my next games might just have these same type of features in them, and then again I will build new stuff on top of that. And that's really how I've been building games over all these years. No, I'm not a fraud. I'm just doing a lot of copy and pasting of my own games, learning small steps and new things with every game, and then building my next game on top of that. And that's how I create my games pretty quickly, and keep it interesting for myself mostly, which is really the most important thing. I want to enjoy myself every day, and creating new games with new ideas in them is what does that. So that's why I've been creating games, and why I'll keep doing it. And that's enough talk for this week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Just 1 minute of silence for the Ouya. It died last week. Well, not this one, but the brand died last week. So yeah. Love you, buddy. Here's 1 minute of silence for you. And well, not 1 minute. 1 minute is a bit long, but you get the point, right?